Guided painting of a winter scene with Ms.Boley. What are we trying to learn? We're continuing on with our learning about watercolors, and we're going to learn a little bit about perspective, so foreground and background. Here's what you will need: a visual journal or sheet of watercolor paper, pencil, watercolor paints, brush, mixing tray, water, and paper towel. So when we're trying to paint a landscape or something outside in the real world, usually things that are large means that they're close up to the viewer. Also, if they're detailed, that means they're close up to the viewer. Whereas things that are small or not detailed are far away from the viewer. So check out this picture here. These are close up to the viewer in the front here, so they're a little bit more detailed and they're larger in size. Whereas these guys at the back here are very small. That means that they're farther away. It doesn't mean they're actually smaller trees. It just means that they're far away from the viewer of the picture. We're going to be painting something where it's kind of nighttime and it's dark, so everything is in silhouette. So the trees and everything that we're going to paint is going to be just really dark, and the background is going to have sort of that misty, hazy quality in the background. So let's get started. I'm going to start this painting off by doing a graded wash. So I'm going to have a dark blue at the top of my painting, and I'm going to try to fade it into a lighter blue. And this time, because I'm painting a whole piece of paper, or in your case, if you're painting your whole visual journal page, you're going to need a lot more paint. So I've made a bigger puddle of water on my paint mixing tray here. And I've done a stripe of blue paint. And then after every stripe of blue paint, I'm dipping into my water cup so that I'm trying to fade it from a dark blue at the top into really light blue, almost white at the bottom. Really want this to be nicely blended. I'm dabbing with my paper towel just to get some of the extra water. I wanted to also do maybe some cloud mist type formations or shapes with my paper towel there. So now I want it to be a bit darker at the top, so I'm just going to add a little bit more paint up at the top and allow it to blend down. And now this is my time where I can be really creative. So you don't need to use blue for your painting. You can make yours a sunset, so you could use like red and purple and orange, or you could make it kind of gray, but I've just chosen blue, and now I'm gonna add 1 or 2 more colors. So I want this like hazy, sunsetty type background, you know, when it's almost gonna be dark at nighttime in winter. So I'm adding some purple, and I'll probably also add some red. So I'm just doing that wet on wet technique and allowing the purple to just mix in with the blue. Then I'm also going to just do a little bit of red, sort of like the sunset that you sometimes see, how it turns a bit red in the sky. And then the more I mix it in with the blue, the more purpley it's going to turn. So we'll just do some wet on wet in our background, do a graded wash, add some wet on wet, and then we have to let our paint dry. So once I'm happy with this, I'm going to stop. I'm going to let my paint dry. Okay, I'm back, and it is now completely dry. So I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to draw some simple lines. So I'm doing sort of like a couple little hills, 1, 2, and then 3 bumps, and then I've decided to draw a little house. So again, you can decide to draw whatever shapes. These are gonna turn, like, you can't really tell my house is a house on my original or my end result of my painting, but I am gonna have it there because the rest of the grass area is going to be dark as well. So if you want your objects to be really noticeable, just make them a little bit not like centered on the horizon line like mine is, but just up above it, not above it, but on top of it a little bit. So I'm going to do a house, I'm going to do a snowman, and I am going to do some happy trees. That's why we were practicing doing those types of trees. And I'm just going to do a vertical pencil line to show myself where I'm going to place those happy trees. So keep it super simple, like some trees and maybe one or two other things. You could do an animal, you could do a house, you could do a snowman, you could do some different types of trees. It's up to you. Once you're done drawing, I'm going to mix a very dark wash. So I'm mixing black with a little puddle of water, and then I'm going to add a touch of blue in with it because I just don't want to have pure black. It can be really quite dark in comparison to the other colors, and so I want it to be this like navy blue, and so I'm getting that by mixing black with a little bit of blue. Another thing I could do is maybe mix some orange in to my blue, but I feel like this will give me sort of a more cool option. So now all I'm doing is I'm just going to paint the silhouette. So it's sort of like an all black sort of shadow of these objects. So we can't see any of the details on them because it's too dark, because it's nighttime, right? So they're all going to be just black shapes that we see the outline of. So I'm doing the house, and then as my brush is running out of paint, I'm going to start going into the hill area, and I'm painting this whole area that dark blue as well. But since my brush is sort of running out of paint a bit, it's getting to be a bit of a lighter paint color there. So I'm just kind of being really loose and free and just going with whatever happens. This is why we want the paint, the background paint, to be completely dry, because I want there to be a crisp line for the silhouettes. So now that I have the house and I have the snowman painted in, I'm going to start doing the happy trees. So we already know how to do those. So I'll do my vertical line, and then I'm tapping from side to side and sort of making that triangle shape. And I'll add in another one over here. I don't want to make them too close together. I don't want them to turn into just one big blob, right? I want to be clear that it's a tree and not a blob. Okay, so I'll do a few of them there. And again, I want to make my composition interesting. I want to make my painting interesting. I'm going to have 3 trees over on the side and then maybe another one over here, and just balance it all out so it's interesting for the viewer to look at. So I now decided that the painting just needed a little something extra, so I'm just drawing a little crescent moon in the sky. So you could do a full moon, you could do little birds in the sky. I'm also going to do a little bit of splattering later, and I'll show you how I do that. So I'll just paint in the silhouette of the moon first. Also do some splattering with white paint if your set has a white color in it. So I'm mixing a wash of pretty dark paint, and then I get my brush all charged, and I'm just going to tap the brush with my finger, and it's going to spray paint. And I just thought that would look kind of cool. I don't know, maybe it's stars, maybe it's snow. And I'm just kind of being careful to not go overboard so that it's still, the viewer can still tell what it is. And that's it. I can't wait to see your winter landscapes. Thank you so much for watching.